And let's begin. So good morning. Before we get started, remember to go ahead and put your name in the chat. Make sure you guys stay on mute, but there are going to be times, you already know me, I'm going to ask you to unmute because I really want to hear and get your input. And of course, if you're shy, you know you can utilize the chat box. I'm not a real biggie on the whole video thing. So if you're talking, please share your face so people can get to know you. One of the biggest reasons why we do these calls is because I really want you guys to get out of those silos and actually utilize each other as support and as resources. So get to know your colleagues, get to know their faces. And that's another reason why I was super excited about LACWAP and of course our upcoming summit in January. So these are our Zoom meeting preparations. Again, utilize that chat. Keep it on mute, but of course unmute when you're prompted. And if you need to not use your video, there's the button at the bottom for that. And of course, welcome to our child welfare and attendance call today. I am your presenter and facilitator, Shalmika Adams, child welfare and attendance liaison for Louisiana Department of Education. Again, if you're new to the call or just joining us, please add your name and school system or an association or school to the chat box. If you're not affiliated with a specific school, just share with us the parish that you support. This webinar is now being recorded, so it is recorded now. If you have anything that you'd like to share while we're going, I don't want you to lose your train of thought. Put it in the chat box and we'll go back through it. Dr. Hornbeek, my executive director, is on the call. Just shoot me a text if I miss something in the chat box as we go. At the conclusion, again, I want us to unmute and we'll have an ending activity. And of course, this whole thing started with Dr. Brumley's initiative, the Louisiana Comeback. And so that's what this webinar is about, facilitating that and making sure that you guys are inspired to actually follow through with some of those commitments in that initiative. Today's agenda, of course, introduction, sign in, attendance matters, people. So make sure that you are accounted for. Put your name in the chat box and put your school affiliation or district or the parish that you are supporting. We'll go over our monthly call purpose, have our morning inspiration and activity. Today's presentation is simply put the game plan. This is a system-wide plan of action to address chronic absence. So what you can do within your system to help you address chronic absenteeism. We'll have an activity and opportunity for question and answers, and I have a few updates for you. So of course, our monthly call, our focus has been, and I've been praying about it, and it just keeps hitting me that this has now come from a year theme to what our purpose and theme overall for CWAs in Louisiana should be: enrollment, engagement, and encouragement. That's what we are. We help with enrollment. We are now working to address attendance in a more restorative manner by involving and being more engaged with our students, with our parents, with our systems. And encouragement, making sure that they're crossing the finish line, but not only just crossing the finish line, they have foundations to keep moving to the next race. And so the purpose of these calls is to cultivate a viable network for state CWAs to discuss evidence-based best practices and offer support amongst colleagues. Again, making sure we're out of those silos and knowing that you're not alone. You already know that. We're going to make sure that we're connecting with systems that mimic our own system, but also I'm making a conscious effort to be out in the field so that you're not alone. Location, of course, links are sent to you guys, and feel free to share those links with members of your system, especially those that you're counting on to be a part of your attendance network. Dates are every first Wednesday of the month, of course, unless there is a holiday approaching. And of course, you'll be given time to make plans and arrangements to arrange your schedule accordingly. And our time is 8 to 9:30. And if you have any questions, comments, testimonies, please send them to shonika.adams@la.gov. Today's morning inspiration is an old video, but still relevant because it's going to address what we're going to discuss today. I've met in person about 4 people in this video, and they are all experts in their field. I got a chance to travel to Ohio. Many of you know I play semi-pro football, and so when I went there for my first All-American game, I actually got a chance to meet with people from the Department of Education. So every time I go somewhere, I'm always thinking about how to better what it is I'm working on. And at the time, that's when I first started. And so I got a chance to meet a few of these people and learn how they changed their whole Cleveland system around, because Cleveland had about a 50% chronic absence rate, which is huge. And I got a chance to learn how they did that. And so I want to share that with you in this particular clip today. Oh, wait, let me go back.
Missing a day of school here, 2 days there may not seem like a big deal. But before long, those days add up and students aren't learning, and they're struggling to keep up academically. 7 million children in the U.S. are considered chronically absent. That means missing 10% of the school year. States are beginning to take the problem seriously. For the last few years, schools in Cleveland, Ohio have made a big effort to encourage students to get to class every day. Special correspondent Kavita Cardoza with our partner Education Week found steady progress there, but also a long way to go. For our weekly segment, Making the Grade.
Good morning.
It's 7 o'clock in Cleveland, Ohio, and it's dark, cold, and snowing. The kind of day when it's difficult to get out the door.
Snow is real hard.
But Amanda Watkins prides herself on her daughter's perfect school attendance.
I can't miss a day. It's my perfect attendance, not even hers.
In Cleveland public schools, though, that kind of attendance record is not typical. A couple of years ago, school system leaders found more than half their 40,000 students were chronically absent. The problem starts as early as kindergarten. Principal Brittany Anderson at Patrick Henry School greets every child as they come in. And their parents.
Well, we appreciate you all for making sure they're safe.
A lot of parents expressed that they didn't feel welcomed in the school in prior years.
So once a week, she sets out coffee and pastries.
And at first, it was just a way to get them in. But then the coffee clubs turned into a way for the parents to talk to the teachers. That way we can have these conversations with our parents without it feeling formal.
Diamond Godomsky has 3 kids in the school. She appreciates the warm welcome.
When, you come in and you see smiling, friendly faces with stuff to give to you, hot treats or whatever, it makes you feel good.
All right, SPO meeting tomorrow.
Anderson says building good relationships with parents makes it more likely they'll bring their children to school, even on a day like today.
If our scholars are not here, then they're not learning.
Students who miss a lot of school are more likely to drop out. Robert Balfance, a researcher with Johns Hopkins University, found a direct link between attendance and academics in Florida.
Essentially, we found that each additional day of missed schooling, students had 1 fewer point on the state test. So miss 10 days, lose 10 points, miss 15 days, lose 15 points.
But because schools used to track attendance differently, Balfan says until recently, states didn't even realize there was a problem.
Traditionally, schools have measured average daily attendance, which is how many kids on average are in the building on a given day. And except in the most extreme cases, that's almost always in the 90s. And we're hardwired to think 90A, good. But it turns out that you could have average daily attendance in the low 90s and still have a quarter of your kids missing a month or more of school.
Chronic absenteeism affects all students, says Hedy Chang with the nonprofit Attendance Works.
A teacher now is faced with the choice of repeating lessons or keeping going on for the kids who have been there. And that churn slows down the ability of the entire classroom to move forward.
A new federal education law signed into effect by former President Barack Obama goes into effect this year. Now, all states will be required to track chronic absenteeism. It's typically considered missing 18 school days or more. But Cleveland leaders found even missing 1 day a month made a difference. So they started a public relations blitz. The slogan, "Get to school, you can make it," was on billboards, posters, magnets, t-shirts, even grocery store bags. Everyone helped staff a daily phone bank. Board members, principals, bus drivers. They made 16,000 calls the first year.
The reason for the call is Jalen has missed 4 more days of school, and good attendance helps.
Keisha Bullard is a kindergarten teacher.
Is there anything that we can do to assist you? In the past hour, for instance, I think that I've dialed maybe 20 numbers, 30 numbers.
Low-income families in particular face many challenges.
With the weather being like it is asthma. Most of the time it is transportation or illness issues.
Laurie Hobson, who's in charge of attendance for the district, found lots of kids miss school simply because they don't have clean clothes.
We provide uniforms to any family who needs a uniform. And what we discovered was attendance improves for as much as 6 weeks after receiving a uniform.
Cleveland schools partner with several organizations to help provide families with everything from a bus pass to emergency shelter to legal help. This makes sense, Chang says, because a school district can't solve deeper social problems on its own.
When you have high levels of chronic absence, often it means that there are these bigger challenges, and you really need to have a community approach to address it.
In Cleveland, it's an all-out effort. A community college offers scholarships as incentive, local businesses check attendance before hiring, and the Cleveland Browns players visit schools regularly.
Whenever you're late, that means you don't have respect for the other person's time. In the NFL, you get fined. So I think our fine, if you miss a meeting, might be like $10,000.
Welcome, everyone. We have a full agenda, so I'm not going to...
Some districts do use punishments such as fines, jail time, and taking away driver's licenses. But Cleveland schools have found focusing on positive messages far more effective.
We show up every day and so should Cleveland students, even when it's cold outside. Get to school, Cleveland. We know you can make it.
In the last 2 years, Cleveland's chronic absenteeism rate has dropped from 50 to 30%. At Cleveland High School for Digital Arts, Principal Jasmine Mays and a local radio celebrity are hosting a surprise celebration because students have made their attendance goal.
You never know when DJ Incognito's going to show up, and just come and throw us a party.
Ninth grade is another year when students are most likely to miss school, but today everyone is glad they're here.
That's actually the icing on the cake, Z107.9 being here.
It's cool because it brings everybody together, like it's something unexpected.
I think it motivates kids to come to school because they don't want to miss school stuff like this.
Eric Gordon is the CEO of Cleveland Schools. He says they've moved from rewarding perfect attendance to recognizing students who come to school regularly. Someone watching might say, really, a party just for coming to school? Like, isn't that what kids are supposed to do?
Well, yes, it is what kids are supposed to do. I would challenge people to look at their own workplace environments, though, where companies give bonuses for all kinds of things, including high attendance, where they have parties for their staff for performing well. I mean, incentive is part of how you create behaviors.
In Cleveland, thousands more children now attend classes regularly, but a third of the district is still missing 18 days or more of school, and Gordon says it'll continue to take a lot of effort. For PBS NewsHour and Education Week,
So that was, again, a couple of people that I got the chance to meet at different venues, talking about how they changed around, changed the focus of attendance in the Cleveland School District. And you saw how they were able to make a sizable change in decreasing chronic absence just by applying many of the practices you and I have discussed throughout this year together. most of you guys didn't know, June was my anniversary month. So I've been with you guys for a year, yay me. But during that time, I do want to send kudos as part of our morning inspiration because of the work that you have been doing. You have, if you've been watching Bessie board meetings, if you have been watching different activities when people are talking about attendance in Louisiana, you notice the language is changing. They're now including chronic absence. And so that's because the work that you're doing out in the field. So as part of the morning inspiration, I do want to send a shout out to all of you for the work that you've been doing in changing the language and making sure that we're speaking more restoratively when it comes to attendance, because we know that attendance matters, and to make sure that we're decreasing on school avoidance, which leads to chronic absence. We are now creating a culture where parents and families can talk to us about absenteeism, and we can give them the resources they need to address those barriers to attendance. So let's have a conversation. In regards to our presentation today, I have a couple questions that I do want you to unmute and engage with me on. So I have first question. When we are developing this plan of action, we have to come up with a team, right? So who needs to be at the table when developing a system-wide plan to address attendance, chronic absence, and truancy? So think about it. Who at the district level needs to be on your team when addressing attendance system-wide? All right, Ms. Melissa says the CWA officers, principals. Good. Who else should be there? Again, we're talking district-wide. We're creating this plan. And so, of course, to implement the plan, we definitely need team members. So I see counselors, school board superintendent, principals, parent and family engagement coordinators, parents, yes. Social workers, youth, they do deserve a voice. Someone unmuted, what do you want to share? All right, the next question. What data should be made available to your attendance stakeholders? So all of these people that you're saying need to be at the table, what type of data should be made available to them? What do you think? All right, Ms. Deborah says we definitely want the superintendent, CWAs, principal reps, teacher reps, parent reps, counselors, our licensed clinical social workers, and student reps, attendance and academic. That data should be available, attendance and academic, attendance reports, test scores, yes. Somebody heard what Dr. Valfine said in the video, Ms. Melissa, because those test scores actually reflect attendance. Attendance, discipline. We've talked about how discipline can affect attendance. Grades, parental contact notes, yes. But depending on what information is shared in those contact notes. Test performance throughout the year, average daily attendance, yes, because there's a goal for us there. The next question, when will communications in your system about attendance begin? So you have your team, you already know what kind of data you're gonna put out. When are you gonna start communicating about attendance? Proactive, start of school. Okay. Now, oh, I like the way you think, Dr. Moore. Before the school year begins, yes. Parent back to school meetings, ASAP, day one, yes. Next question. Where will you share information / data about attendance? Where are you gonna put this data? Again, your team just can't hold on to the data. Where are you gonna put it? Power schools, principals at school, social media pages. Yes, our parents, you know, those parents are TikToking with their kids. Website signs in schools, open house, webpage, exactly. And our last question, how do you plan to communicate the importance of attendance to your schools and families? The how. How do you plan to communicate? I'd even ask some music rappers to include it in their music, because we know the kids listening. Let's see here. Again, how do you plan? So that's one way to do it. Get those rappers to start rapping. I love it. Oh, I'll tell y'all what, I used to think I was gonna be a rapper back in the day, but you're talking to somebody who also thought they were gonna be a paleontologist back in the day too. Videos, student code of conduct book, yes. If you are not a part of the student code of conduct, putting it together, you need to be on that committee because you actually have influence over a lot of things that are being put into that code of conduct. I love the coffee and pastries in the morning where teachers and parents can have those conversations. Yes. Did you hear that lady say, man, I like coming in here and getting a hot, warm treat? And they've seen how just that type of interaction helped with attendance. So look at me. You know I have a few teacher friends. I went with the who, what, when, where, and how. And that's how we're going to build our team. And that leads us to the game plan. System-wide plan of action to address chronic absence. Who should be on the team? These are things that you guys have already shared. Of course, you, the child welfare and attendance directors and supervisors, you should actually be facilitating these meetings. A representative from the system superintendent's office. It may not always be a superintendent, depending on the size of your district. So ask for a representative from their office so that the superintendent knows what the goals are and knows and has an idea of what attendance looks like. Directors of student services. The reason why I include those are because sometimes that's you too. But also we know that our directors of student services, they have influence with child welfare and attendance. Like I said, sometimes that's you play that double role, but also Pbis and other systems as well that help with student services. Because they're usually the ones that engage with getting those uniforms together. For students and families that don't have. Hearing officers, that's some of you as well. Data supervisors are so important because how else are you gonna get the data that you need when you need it? I don't want you to have to go to individual schools when you can actually talk to the data supervisor of your district and you're able to pull that data right then and there. Fins, if you're blessed to have fins in your area, bring one of them to the table. Your law enforcement, if you have an SRO, great. But if you don't, I had quick story when I was an investigator for DCFS lifetimes ago. And one of the things that I did was I always made friends with every law enforcement aspect. So like I had a friend with the sheriff's office, the city police of whatever city I was driving into. I was even given, I joke about it, a junior deputy award because I used to engage police, but also not in a way where it was, oh, I need your help because I have to go see this family. It was more so of, hey, I'm coming to your area and can you share a little bit more about that area for me? But also helping them to introducing them so that kids and families didn't feel like, they didn't feel that there was a negativity because of, what they've seen on TV when it comes to police and the interaction with their community. So it was a way of showing that we all can work together. as well as those SEL coaches. Those are necessary to have on your team. Family and community liaison, someone had that in their answer, they should be on there. And transportation. Again, how else are kids going to get to, most of our kids are on public school buses. So why aren't we including someone from transportation on our teams to talk about attendance so that bus drivers understand their role when it comes to attendance as well? And I want to give a huge shout out to Tangible Hall Parish School System. They did an amazing job of identifying their team members, and I got a chance to meet with their team on last Thursday during their first Zoom call as a team. And they basically had all of these people were at the table. And it was amazing to hear what their plan was and how they were going to work together so that they can address chronic absence in Tangipahoa. So shout out to you guys for getting your team together and actually having that first call. What data should be made available to your stakeholders? School and system attributes. I put that link in here, but that link is also on your CWA page on the Louisiana Believes website, and it gives you direct access to historical data on discipline, average daily attendance, and truancy. Notice I gave you the 2021 data. The 2021-2022 data won't be available until later August. So as soon as that information is made public, I will make sure you guys are aware of it so you can actually show these trends. So in 2021, our average daily attendance was 91.7. The goal is 95%. So in 3 years, I'm looking for us to be at 95%. Ask me why that's the goal. Glad you asked, because we've been there before. Not only have we been there before, that is what the U.S. Department of Ed challenges us to do, be at 95%. But if we listen to Dr. Balfines, we can be at 95% and still deal with chronic absence. So because Louisiana has tracked truancy for so long, we still want to look at those numbers, but we know that when we look at chronic absence data and we address chronic absenteeism, truancy will fall as well. In 2020 to 2021, we're at a 40.2% number. In talking to many of you, you shared with me how we got there. It was probably people not putting in data correctly, but also due to pandemic and parents being afraid to send their kids, as well as the influx of fights because, kids were on the internet writing checks they couldn't cash and were having a minute with school avoidance. And so our goal is now 28.1%. Why, you ask? Glad you asked, because we've been there before. It's still a high number, but it's attainable because Louisiana, you guys as CWAs, you've done that before and you've done it within the last 5 years. So that's the reason why I have the school system attributes, because I'll click it so you can see what that looks like. As soon as you go there, it shows you data that you will need. So enrollment, if you're looking at that, if you want your data supervisor to build a dashboard that shares what enrollment looks like versus who's actually at school today, you can do that. And that would be a great thing to share with your superintendent so that they understand the importance of attendance. Like, yeah, we have this many kids enrolled, but how many are actually showing up? And how does that affect us in the long run? Discipline data, that historical data is here. Dropout data, our student attendance data, truancy data, and it breaks it all down by the LEA, your different districts, as well as the different schools. So you can, as the CWA, you can look at the different schools and see what schools you actually need to do a little bit more work with. Chronic absence data. Remember, I've already put in a request so that it can actually be moved to the systems attributes page as well. So you don't have to keep going to different places to find the chronic absence data. But I did put the current location in this slideshow for you so you can get to it quickly. And what that looks like is going to the louisianaschools.com, going to the school finder. And somebody shoot out a school for me. The name of the school, please. Because I don't want y'all to say I picked a school that I like. Don't be shy, give me a school, or y'all don't want to see their grade. Okay, so I'll just pick a school. I went to Brownsville when I was in elementary school, so we'll choose Brownsville. And it's a B school, but what I want you to focus on is you go to academic performance. From academic performance, you'll go down and click discipline and attendance. What you'll find about attendance is it will share students missing fewer than 15 days of school. So students who are missing fewer, that's 91%. So this school is doing very well when it comes to addressing chronic absence. Only 9% of their students are chronically absent at that school. So 9% of their students are missing 15 or more days. When it comes to out of school suspensions, we all want to be at 100% because we shouldn't be doing any out of school suspensions because again, out of the suspensions give notice or add to our chronic absence days because chronic absence looks at excused absences, unexcused absences, and suspensions. So this particular school, whoever has this school under their umbrella, you already know that this is one of those schools that you want to acknowledge and say, hey, we know you're doing the right thing. And especially if you look at their ADA and it's at a 95%, I would actually start Attendance Awareness Month giving them a certificate. Also, behavior intervention resources. I did want to share this with you because remember, discipline can also affect the student's attendance. Even if it's not suspension, if a child feels targeted, then they're going to avoid school. So this is a particular resource I did want to share. I've shared it twice with 2 of you already, but I want to make sure you all had access to this information. It's a great resource that our well-being team has put together. And this is from their 2019 Behavior Intervention Summit. But all of this information is still relevant to, especially to the work that we're doing. Because remember, we're building our attendance success plans based on MTSS. So having a tiered level of support when it comes to addressing attendance, just like when it comes to addressing discipline, when it comes to addressing academics, there's a tiered level of support and we want to stay in line with that. All right. When will attendance communications begin? Somebody gave the right answer right off bat. Right now. Right now, we have got to start talking about attendance and getting those communications out there. So let's discuss. Where will you share the attendance data? At-risk roundups. That means meet with students and families who are chronically absent in 2021 to 2022 right now. I want to send a shout out to GeoPrep Mid-City. You guys actually did a roundup, but you didn't call it a roundup, thank you. But they did a roundup where they had parents that were, their students were chronically absent. And so they brought them in on a Saturday and discussed chronic absence with them and discussed truancy. And they gave them the spill, not just the jargon lingo, but also the stuff that made sense to the families, and also engaged with them and shared with them how attendance was important. But not only that, they also surveyed them and say, hey, going forward, is this the best time that we should meet with you and engage with you? So they've learned just through that interaction, what's a better way to interact with those families going forward to give support. So kudos to GeoPrep for having one last school year. And so what I'm sharing with you guys is do the research today. Find out who in your system, what students in your system were chronically absent, and actually reach out to those families today and do some type of activity that brings them into one location. Or if you just do it school by school, hey, we're going to have this type of event. Make it sound like something engaging and fun that they want to be in. You know, a pre-welcome back to school bash, and have some snacks, and then talk to these families about attendance. And, you know, we noticed that you guys had issues, but we want to help you start off on the right foot. What can we do with you so that as soon as school starts, we can have a successful start to the school year? Also, you're going to make sure you want to share this data at administrative system team meetings, attendance team meetings, discipline team meetings, and stakeholder meetings within an attendance matrix for attendance clerks. So when developing an attendance matrix for your clerks, do an if-then statement. So one, we know that they're utilizing the codes without having to come up with their own interpretation. So you have a matrix. Kudos to Vermilion. You guys created your own discipline matrix so people understood what to do if a student committed this offense. This is the consequence. Well, with an attendance matrix follows the same guidelines. If a student is checking in, and it's an unexcused check-in, you're going to use this code. If a student is checking in with a parent and the parent signs them in, you're going to use this code. If a student is absent, you use this code. But instead of allowing clerks and people who have to sub in as clerks to decide what they're supposed to use, go ahead and let them know upfront what to use and deliver those to your individual schools. So now everyone in your school district is understanding what each code means versus having to come up with their own interpretation. And that's how we can actually help to share our attendance data, because this is how you're going to make sure that you're getting correct data going forward. Also, in back to school announcements, someone already shared that in our earlier activity via school websites, and of course in flyers at your back to school events. You can actually share in the flyers that I shared with you guys earlier. Make those your own from the LACWAP conference. Make those your own. Add your school logo and use those with your Dads with Donuts events, or the back to school. Use that backpack flyer. Also, with schools, as you present them with attendance awards. So those same attendance awards that we have for our students, I'm actually going to have our team create them in a way that you can present them to schools. So you have an excellence in attendance. Those are your schools that are hitting that 95% ADA. And of course, improvement in attendance. Those are your schools that you see that there is a real decrease in chronic absence. Please acknowledge those schools so that that principal knows, one, that we're either on the right track or we seriously have some work to do. And that's one way that you can share that data with that principal. So not only just giving them numbers, but also giving them kudos and shout outs so that they can brag about that data too. So notice how the data won't just stop at one place, but it'll trickle down even further, because I'm sure those principals will share with their teachers like, hey, what are you doing to ensure that we're going to get this award next month or next semester, however you guys choose to do it. How do you plan to communicate the importance of attendance? And it's all through alignment. Align attendance with academic growth. Dr. Balfon shared how when a student was missed in the study that they did in Florida, when a student missed 10 days, it affected their test scores by 10 points. So align academic growth with attendance so that, one, our principals, they're not looking at it as just a check off, we've addressed attendance and it's a check mark. No, if a child isn't here, that affects their academic growth. And this is the research behind that. And of course, as I come across articles, I'll start sending those to you so that you have something to back up and validate what it is you're sharing. Align attendance with Pbis. I've shared this since I started. When a kid comes to school, yes, it should be celebrated. Notice that the executive director of schools at Cleveland was asked the question, why are you celebrating something that kids should already be doing? Well, why not? I know just recently, I got this cute little mug because I participated in our office's health challenge. And of course, we all should be trying to be healthy, sure, but it's great to get something that celebrates something I should be doing because it motivated me to do more. And that's what we want to do. And then when you align attendance with PBIS, remember, our kids can't learn the behaviors we want them to learn at home. So these behaviors you're trying to award, they're never going to attain those awards because they're not there to learn the behaviors. But if we can get them there and award them for being there, then they'll actually want to be there more, and they'll start to mimic the behaviors that their peers are modeling, and they'll engage more and get those awards as well. So align attendance with PBIS, align attendance with MTSS. Again, using that multi-tiered system of support. If our schools are engaging in that in regards to academics and behavior, our discipline teams are using tiers level of support, then we definitely want to do that with attendance. So if we're going to utilize chronic absence versus going straight into truancy, we're telling schools, hey, by the third absence, this is what I want the school to do. By the fifth absence, this is what we need the school to do. So remember those if-then statements that we're making in our attendance matrix. Also include day 3 that a student has absence. So I'm not even asking if it's an unexcused absence. I just want to know 3 absences, because we know that 3 absences in 1 month has that child on track for being chronically absent. So we want to engage with that family. One, if we're doing it by the third absence, we can assess if all 3 are excused or if all 3 are unexcused. If all 3 are unexcused, we can acknowledge that with the family and give them an opportunity to share with us, hey, if that was a doctor's excuse they didn't turn in, let's go ahead and get that turned in. Why? Because that with 2 more absences later down the line, that child might be considered truant. And we already know once a child is considered truant, that's when we start engaging other actions that may lead up to a tier 3 level of support. So FINS may be contacted, or depending on your school system, if you don't have FINS, you're already typing up an affidavit, and we don't want to get to that level. So again, aligning attendance with MTSS will allow us to address students before we even get to a truancy stage. Align attendance with parent engagement. Again, make sure you're a part of all of those parent nights. Make sure you're a part of all going when you do a home visit, sharing with families, the importance of their child being at school. Align attendance with parent engagement. We saw in the video when the parent understood just how important attendance was or felt welcomed in the school, they felt like they can actually bring their kid to school every day, or they wanted to. The one parent shared how that wasn't her kid's attendance award, that was actually hers. And that was the importance of creating that improvement in attendance award, because that's something you won't just be presenting to a student, you'd be presenting that to the family. Align attendance with better teacher-student relationships. We already know that kids are successful in school when they have a caring adult who cares about them. And so if we can make sure that we're aligning attendance with that teacher-student relationship, we can remind teachers that they're just as valuable when making sure our kids are getting to school on time. And it's not just about taking attendance, but also caring about the student and their absences and how those absences are impacting that child, not just academically, but socially, emotionally, and engaging with that student a little bit better. And of course, align attendance with better economic outcomes. This is how you can engage your community leaders. Get them to buy into your attendance plan, because remind them that, how we say the children are our future. The children are the present. And we know for a fact that if they're not in school, they're probably not doing something positive. So we can get these business leaders, and we can get these community leaders to back us in our approach to attendance. So if we're having these Pbis celebrations that also include attendance as a part of the celebration, get these community partners to donate ice cream or to come out, especially if they are a community partner in terms of a sports team, getting some of their athletes to come to your celebrations. So again, align attendance with better economic outcomes, because we can remind them that, again, these kids are the present and they affect how the community looks now. So don't just think about the future, think about where they are now. These high school students, if they're not coming to school, we can't guarantee that they're reliable to go to work. Yet we are pushing them to be in these apprenticeship programs, and we're pushing them to be in these dual enrollment programs. But if they can't come to high school, how can we guarantee that they're going to show up for a college class? And how can we guarantee that they're going to show up for an internship? So we have to get them to agree to this as well. Because notice in Cleveland, some of those businesses actually look at student attendance before hiring. And if we share with our kids, and remember I told you before I leave here, I'm really gonna make a serious push so that we can provide an attendance seal so that we can share with our businesses up front. Hey, this student had excellence in attendance, which means that, hey, most likely they'll show up. So this might be a great candidate for work. This might be a great candidate for your school or your apprenticeship program. So here's our activity. We already have our game plan laid out. We know that we're going to build a team, we're going to assemble the data, we're going to start communicating right now, and we're going to share that out with as many people at as many venues as possible, and we're going to incentivize attendance so that we can get it on track. But here's the activity. Part of that was who. And remember, we talked about the now, and part of the now is creating that roundup. What does the perfect roundup look like in your system? So I want you to think about the kids that are chronically absent in your system. I know some of y'all already have an idea. So that's why I didn't ask you to close your eyes, because it's probably gonna make you freak out. But I want you to think about who has chronic absence in your system. And if you needed to create a roundup, what does that look like in your system? How are you going to engage the family? How are you going to get them there? And how are you going to get make sure that they receive the information in a restorative manner? So can someone share with me what a perfect roundup looks like? And also, we don't want to call it a roundup going forward.
Hey, it's Nicole. I'm sorry I'm driving, but the perfect roundup, from what I've seen that's been effective, it looks like bringing the resources to the family. I think a lot of times we require the families to find their way to the school or to the district and to align themselves with what they need. But we do have some families in our communities that are so disconnected from resources that they need us to come to them, right? With everything that could possibly be an asset to helping that child get in school. So I think it looks like setting up shop in some of our most disinvested communities on a consistent basis.
Good, thank you for sharing that, Ms. Nicole. That's absolutely a great idea. A roundup should include resources already made available to them. So if you're going to have that meeting, have the resources right there. One of the things I think I've shared in the past is one of the independent school districts in Texas. When they do truancy court, they actually have the judge come to one of the local schools. And while that judge is actually presiding over truancy cases at the school, in the actual gym of that school, they have a circle of resources. So once that judge hears what's happening and what's acting as a barrier of attendance. So if a family says, you know, our student hasn't been coming to school regularly due to housing instability, where, well, that judge would mandate and make sure that a part of what they're sharing with them is you've been mandated to go over to the resource center, which for that day is the gym. And I want you to talk to that housing resource. And they go directly to the housing resource. And right then they're applying for housing. And with that housing, they are assigned case management. So now the court and the CWA, they're receiving information on the status of that family. So not only do they receive that resource for housing, next to that is actual shelter. So like a shelter that has availability in it. Like, hey, we're a shelter for families, and we include adult, older male students. So they go there. So they have the immediate need met, as well as ongoing assistance. And that judge is following up, and that CWA is following up. So one, by the judge coming to the school, the family doesn't feel criminalized. By the resources being right there, the family can't say, well, I have no gas money to get there. I don't have transportation to get there. So these are things that we can think about. I know some schools, I love that at Caddo Parish, they've implemented their peer justice thing, so that students that are getting disciplined, they're not disciplined out of the school, they're disciplined within the school. So that actually helps with their absenteeism, because they're not putting kids out, but they're also addressing a discipline issue while keeping kids in schools. So thinking outside of the box, but definitely having resource fairs. So as you're learning barriers to attendance within your communities, make sure that you're aligning those types of resources to those schools. So remember how I said align attendance with our economic outcomes? That's a part of that. If I know that attendance is an issue for this particular school due to lack of transportation, then one of the things I would do is look at community organizations that provide transportation, or that provide bus tokens, or that provides vouchers for Uber, and reaching out to them and saying, hey, would you like to support this specific school for this specific initiative? And again, that will help. Does anyone else want to share what a perfect roundup looks like for them? Like my mama said, you can't speak it, you can't have it.
Good morning.
Good morning.
This is Constance from GEO Mid-City.
Hey, Miss Constance, you heard my shout out to you?
Yes, ma'am. Thank you. I was excited. But when we have parent meetings. We call them parent meetings.
And we're not calling it a roundup.
Yes. And we invite the parents to come out on Saturday mornings, and we have different topics. Like the first one was about attendance and the importance of attendance in school and the law. The second one was about COVID and how to keep yourself safe in school. So we just had different topics for each month. That's what we did. And the parents, like you said, we did the survey, and Saturday mornings was the best time. And we had parents and students, because we had something for the students to do as well, so they wouldn't have to find a babysitter.
OMG, awesome. Now that's a perfect roundup, when you're not just thinking about, oh, I need to get the parent down here, but you're also remembering that that parent is attached to a student, and they won't always have adequate childcare available just when you want to meet. So I think that's great that you have activities set up for the student as well, so they feel welcome to come back to school too. So my mom isn't just going to the school because I'm in trouble. We're all going to the school for this particular activity. So that's a great idea. Thank you for sharing that. So did anyone else want to share what their perfect roundup looks like, or else speak life into a dream that they're having about reaching students before school starts?
Well, Shalika, I think I want to just tap dance a little bit in the ideal world, right? So let's say that we have faith-based community leaders in churches that could be trained under LDOE, right, on engagement and adopt schools. Like, I feel like that would be a wonderful model if we had some churches that were invested to that level, not to pull families into their church if they come, fine, but for the overall goal of supporting the wellness of that child being in school and connecting families to the resources they need. So what could that possibly look like?
I am so glad you asked. Oh my goodness. So when I was in the field, so excited you asked. When I was in the field, I actually had a faith-based organization reach out to me, and they wanted to find out, of course, if we had pregnant teens, because that's what they worked with, but also they had other activities that they did at more affluent schools. So I was like, well, I want everything you do over there too. And not only did they give us access to those activities, but I had also written a program for mentorship. And so and because I was at Stoughtonville at the time, I called it Village in the Ville. And so it started with, I had them supply me a mentor, and I assigned that mentor 3 students. And the way the program was written was to spread each mentor, and it would actually multiply by 3s every semester so that I could have a grasp on the number of students being supported. So the first nucleus was that one mentor, and he was assigned 3 students, a freshman, and he was either to have a 10th or an 11th grader, and a senior. The reason why he had a senior was he was going to make sure that senior had done FAFSA, that senior had some type of connection to other resources as a graduating student. So like, what are you interested in? Let's align you with different interests. Do you need support with getting a tie and a shirt set for an interview? Do you need certain resources such as a laptop? Like that was his thing for this senior. Like, hey, I'm going to be there at graduation, and so this is what we're going to do together to get you there. And then of course a 10th or an 11th grader, because they would progress with that student, but a 9th grader specifically, because we know that 9th grade is that age where they're deciding if they're going to be in school or not. They're not sharing that with you openly, and they don't know that they're making that decision. But when a 9th grader is chronically absent, it actually multiplies their chances probably 10 times that they're going to drop out. So they're guiding that 9th grader. So when I piloted the program, that 12th grader, actually, I remember it so vividly, he did not have male representation in his household at all. So to have a male mentor meant the world to him. Not only that, he didn't even apply for FAFSA. By the time we had finished that year, he had received, we had aligned him with a community partner that got him a laptop. We aligned him with another organization because he was interested in mathematics at the time. So we found a student on Southern's campus that was a math major, and he was able to coordinate and talk with him regularly. Not only that, FAFSA, and he was also registered in school by that summer after graduation, and that mentor was at graduation for him. That 10th to 11th grader had someone who was there looking for him. The 9th grader still needed a whole lot of love, but again, that's how the program was set up. So you start off, and I share that with you because maybe you want to start off with that as well. Just start off with one mentor and assign them 3 students. Assign them your I won't say the worst of the worst, because there are many faith-based organizations out there that provide mentorship. If you guys actually tuned into the link that I emailed to you yesterday, I got excited because I thought everybody received the link, and so I was like, oh, y'all probably on this. And then I thought about it. I was like, no, let me see, make sure you guys can hear this, because you have mentor.com and all of these different agencies that are providing information on mentorship, are providing funding for mentorship. So again, if you have your superintendents or a representative from your superintendent's office sitting at the table, and you have the stats behind, if you have the stats behind how mentorship and engagement can assist with attendance, but also assist with academic growth, then they may actually invest those funds into engaging those other faith-based organizations, as well as other organizations that can come in and do mentorship programs for you. So you won't have to do like I did and build it yourself. But if you choose to build it yourself, I can definitely reach out to you and share my plan with you. Because remember, all the stuff that I have, it's yours. because I've seen it work. I know it works. And I'm not one of those people that's going to hoard the information, because I want Louisiana to be successful. I need us to be successful. 50, it does not look good. 48 don't look good. And so we're going to work on that this year. That's our plan. So I hope I answered your question, because again, y'all know I get excited. But again, reach out to me if you're interested in building your own type of mentorship program to address absenteeism in your district. And we can definitely build up one, especially if we haven't had our one-on-one already. And even if we have, you already know what the policy is. Send me 3 dates, 3 times, and we can come up with a meeting time. Ms. Nicole, I'll send you that link. Anyone else didn't get the email that I sent to you in regards to the White House call, just send me a message and I'll send you the link, because I do believe that they recorded it based off of an email one of my counterparts sent to me. All right. So again, thank you guys so much in sharing what your perfect roundup looks like. And Miss Melissa, just send me an email though, if you're interested, okay? So that way I don't miss anything in the chats. You guys send me a direct email if you're interested in something specific that I've shared with you. All right, so anyone have any questions, comments, testimonies? Okay. All right, Miss Cully, let me get a chance to write this down. All right. Thank you so much. All right, you guys do me a favor. I'm typing in my email address. Oh, I think I have it on the next page. Yeah, so email me. So I don't waste your time trying to write down y'all email addresses. Email me and let me know if you need the link to the White House presentation that they shared on how we can start using some of the America Recovery Fund money, and how they're using that to, they're encouraging, President Biden is encouraging us to utilize that for programs such as mentorship and student success. Because again, if you're talking student success, you're talking student attendance. Our updates next month, we're going to meet August 3rd. At 8 a.m. If that's an issue, if a few of you email me and say, hey, that's not a great time, but I was thinking that was a good time because most of you won't start school until that following week. So I definitely want to make sure that you got some information on the 3rd. And of course, Attendance Awareness Month is in September. So I've already sent in a request for a formal proclamation from the governor, as well as a formal proclamation from Dr. Brumley, and I've already completed the notes, but I've also reached out to Attendance Works to see what their proclamation will look like. So ours is aligned with theirs as well. Let's see here. Also, our toolkit with the toolkit training with LSU, that will begin in September. So please make sure you are in the September calls. Now, you know, I want you in every call, but definitely in those September calls, and have your clerks in those calls too, because if you're going to give them, have them using some of those tools, or have some of your principals use some of those tools to address absenteeism before they involve you, definitely have them on the call. Also, I emailed you guys the brochure so that you can attend the International Association for Truancy and Dropout Prevention Conference. That'll be in New Orleans this year, October 16th through 19th. Make sure that you fill that out. Dr. Brumley is going to be one of the keynotes there, so super excited to hear what he has to say. Also, I'm excited to share with you guys that I'll send you out a link once it is finalized, but I've been invited to share some initiatives with the Network to Advance State Attendance Policy and Practice. So I've been trying to engage with as many people as possible and learn from other states And in my learning and also in my sharing of the work that I've done in the past, they've invited me to actually speak to them and share the great things that you guys are doing and what you're starting to implement. So I'm super excited about that, because it's not about me. It is about what Louisiana is doing to address our chronic absence and address our truancy and address attendance overall. Also, big news is I've been invited to speak at the International Network for Student Attendance, which is in the Netherlands. Super excited about that, because again, just sharing the work that, things that I share with you, I don't share them with you because it's, just something to share. It's things that I know work because I've seen it work. I've written it, I've implemented it, and I know it works. And it may not work in certain areas, but if you tweak it, and that's the reason why I want us to meet one-on-one, so that you can explain to me what it is that's a barrier in your community, and we can work together to align and make it your own. So I'll definitely send out that link for the White House meeting. Matter of fact, I'll just send it out to everyone again that's in the distribution list. But again, if there's something specific that I spoke about in this particular meeting, just shoot me a direct email and I will send it to you. Okay, and thank you guys so much. I really appreciate the congratulations. Again, my work is to support you and your efforts in the field. If you have not heard it today, you are absolutely appreciated. I know that many of you have only been able to take a week off or a day or two here and there because you've had to get back to work, or you're actually on break. Thank you, Miss Facey, for being here. And you're still here, which means you're committed to what it is we're trying to accomplish. And so for that, you are absolutely appreciated. Again, thank you so much for your time. Your time is so valuable. I know that you've given yourself till 9:30, and you know how I feel. Any time that is left over, it is your time. People should not be bothering you anyway till 9:30. So please take the next 18 minutes to yourself and remind yourself that the work you do matters, you matter, and that you are appreciated. Thank you so much. And I look forward to seeing many of you. I will see Ascension on the 7th for our one-on-one. So I'm super excited about that. Again, send me 3 dates 3 times, and I will make it a point to come and visit you where you are, so that I can make sure that you're getting the support you need to support our families and students in Louisiana. You guys have a great day. Thank you. Thank you. Appreciate it. You guys have a good day.